Those of you who are on this webinar know that running an accounting firm is more than just doing taxes and bookkeeping and recurring services for your clients. You also have oftentimes sales, you have marketing, you have customer support, and of course you have your staff, your administrative teams, and all of the different tasks that you've assigned them to do. And what we found in working with CPA and accounting firms over the last couple of years is that practice management software, although it can do maybe the taxes and the bookkeeping well, it tends to be rigid and also not as up to speed with technology. And so it's only serving one small part of your business, and it's maybe not as intuitive or user-friendly to maintain as your staff begins to grow and change, and you need something that's more flexible, user intuitive, and maybe a little bit more fun to use as well. So Monday.com, for those of you who don't know, is an incredibly flexible software. It's no code, and it really exists to help everyone on your team to manage their tasks, their workflows, and to collaborate better, which is very important in this remote or hybrid work environment that we're living in right now. And at Lucid Day, we're here to help you set up and use Monday.com in a way that works best for you, for your team, for your firm. Ultimately, the goal, the result is that you have better visibility into what everyone on your team and on your staff is doing, and that everyone's on the same page because they're all in the same system. And the goal ultimately is that you have your best busy season yet because of that. And of course, that you're able to grow your firm, retain your staff, and get new hires that are excited to be a part of what your firm is doing. So that's why we've created this workflow solution for you using Monday.com. I understand that some of you may have to hop on and off on this webinar. And so if you don't have the opportunity to watch the whole thing through, where we'll talk through the whole solution, at any point in time, you can go ahead and navigate to our website here, lucidday.com/Monday for accountants and CPAs. I'm going to actually throw that into the chat so you can grab it if you do need to leave. Because on this space is really your next step. So if you're interested in learning more and maybe getting to try this out yourself, the next step is to go here and to get a demo. That is how we would love to meet you and show you the solution and show you how it can be customized to your firm's needs. So if you do have to hop off, that's the space to go. And also we're recording this webinar so you can catch up when we post it live after we're done. So let's, without further ado, get started. And the first thing that I want to mention is just for those of you who have never used Monday before, I'm going to give a lightning round run through of how Monday is organized. So Monday is organized. For many people, it looks a lot like a spreadsheet, which it does kind of. There's columns and rows and things like that. But let's zoom out a little bit more. It's so much more than that. And where it starts is what Monday calls the workspace. So you organize your Monday.com in terms of workspaces. That's your highest level of organization for your firm. So for you, you may have an accounting workspace, bookkeeping workspace. Maybe you just have a workflows workspace, and then you have a dedicated HR workspace, CRM or sales. You want to try and cover everything that your firm does in Monday, because that's really the power of the software. It can cover everything that you do from start to finish every day. So that's your workspace, highest level of organization. And then once you get into the actual workspace itself, you can see that you have these folders, and inside these folders are what Monday calls boards. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on today, is looking at the boards that are part of the workflow that we've created and what's inside of those boards. It's a very powerful space. Like I said, so much more than a spreadsheet, where you can have a relational database. You can have automations that notify you when certain things are ready to start or late. You can do formulas and beyond. It's an extremely dynamic space. And then those boards roll up into what Monday calls a dashboard. So this is kind of the language that we'll be using today and walking through so that it makes a little bit more sense from a landscape perspective, what we're looking at. Let's hop into our CPA Solutions specifically. Just to start, we know that there's a lot in here. So if the CPA solution is something that works for you, we do have a space where you can view videos of how basically what we're doing today. Each of the different sections or folders has its own dedicated video of how it works. We really want to make sure that this is a full-fledged solution that you can get started on and working. Of course, we're always here to help you, but we also want to empower you to understand how to use the system from start to finish. Let's go ahead and start in our client management space. Sometimes when you're just getting started, or maybe you're a firm that hasn't had to do this very much because you just know a lot of people, or you've had a lot of referred business, or you just had a book of business that you started with and you didn't have to do a lot of customer or client relationship management or sales. But now you're at the point where you want to grow. And we see this a lot with firms. They're ready to take their firm to the next level. And to do that, you need more clients. And so that's what this space is for, client management. In this space, you have, just as an overview, a new client / account sales pipeline, an active accounts board, and an account contacts board. A lot of times you have one or multiple contacts for a given account. And so we separate those two and then can relate them together through Monday's automations. Let's first look at this sales pipeline. The first thing we always like to mention with Monday is that you can customize pretty much anything. So let's say for your firm, you don't like new client / account sales pipeline, you could just change this to say new business. So anything that you want, you can change it to read that way, what makes sense to you. Anything that allows editing, it can be changed. So maybe you don't use point of contact, maybe you use, I don't know, person of interest. So everything can really be customized to the language that maybe you or your team is used to. Nothing is rigid in that sense. In our sales pipeline, we have our incoming leads, our active leads, and then our closed won or our paid, and our closed lost, those who didn't come through for whatever reason. And it's a great way for you to organize who you have coming in. If you want, you can even create a form at a click of a button that you can put on your website. You can send out maybe even to your current clients and give them a referral bonus if they have someone fill this out that they know, another business. So that form is possible within Monday. Click of a button, it creates that form, someone can submit it, and it shows up on here without you having to do any work at all. The other thing that this captures is your ability to show your contact, like how much you've been contacting somebody. This is especially helpful if you have maybe more than one partner at your firm who's doing this. If it's just you, maybe you don't need to keep track of this very much, but as you can see, we have a number of partners here that are working these particular leads. And so for them to keep track for themselves and for everyone on the partner team is very helpful to know where we are in the contact cycle and where we are potentially in the engagement letter cycle, as well as whether this has been paid or not paid. So we're going to go ahead and just take a look at one of these. We're going to look at Delighted Coffee. So let's say we're working Delighted Coffee. After the first attempt, they've actually decided they'd like to go with us. And so we've qualified that particular lead or that particular prospective customer. And that's going to move our Delighted Coffee down to our active leads without us doing anything. So that's an automated thing that we have built into this solution. So we have 13 automations that we have active on here. These are all created out of the box. If you get the solution, you don't have to create any of these automations. They're already done based on our work with other firms. So when that moves down, we can continue working on it And we'll say that they went ahead and signed, and we're just gonna breeze through this really quickly and say that they've paid. And that's kind of the key to this workflow. Once they have paid, I'll just show you that particular automation. It's going to throw them into the rest of the workflows that we have starting here. And that's really what you'll see a lot of in this workflow. So when something changes, when a status of a client or the status of a task or a workflow changes, it can automate and move to different spaces. And it can set dates, it can notify people when the status changes. And there it went, it did move. So if I scroll all the way down, you'll see it's just catching up. It's playing a little bit of a Thursday moment with me, but in a moment, we'll see it show up in our active accounts. So we're looking for Delighted Coffee. We'll see if it's caught up to itself. While it waits, while we wait for it, you can see that we have a bunch of new accounts that have been sent over in this way, and that they've automatically been connected to our point of contact. So if I navigate to this particular Judah Stein is who I'm looking for on my account contacts board, search for it up here, you'll see there is my contact. And they are already connected to this particular account. I can click on this account. I can see any information that has to do with this account, not in a horizontal spreadsheet sort of look, but actually in a vertical broken out look. It's a little bit more user friendly. And I can actually update anything in here, and it will update anywhere where this is linked. So let's say Judah Stein changed their email. They are now judah.stein@gmail.com. We'll just say, and I update it here. I close it out. You'll see that it not only updated there, but it also updated here. So it's a relational database. We see this so often with firms that are using spreadsheets. You update it on one spreadsheet and you have to update it on every single spreadsheet, and no admin or staff member is that good to be able to remember every single place where that exists and to go and update that. So this allows you to update it one time, and then wherever it is linked, it updates automatically. Very helpful if you have contacts change or get added, or of course, if you have information that changes from your contacts. So this is how this particular thing can work. And you can see our Delighted Coffee came over, and it's just gonna take a moment to link here, but it will link to that other board. The other thing that this particular active accounts board does is it allows you to assign your services. So this particular client, Delighted Coffee, when they filled out their form that they're interested, they let us know that, hey, these are the services that we want from you. And we sent the engagement letter for these services, and they signed, and these are the ones that they ended up wanting. So your admin would go in here through the onboarding phase, and they would take a look at what we've got. Well, we've got our 1120 and our audit, which we both are going to be doing. We'll do our 1120 annually. We'll do our audit quarterly, and then they want weekly bookkeeping. So I'm able to fill in the services here. And then once they're ready, they've been onboarded, I'm going to set my services, and that's what's going to push them into our workflows. So there you go. You saw our person got connected there. And now if we go into our workflows, we'll see how those just got sent without us having to move anything. All we did is set the services. Super easy for you as a partner, your staff person, or your admin to make them move through the system. Before we go there, I just want to cover one other thing with this active accounts board. A lot of times with the firms that we work with, they're not just working through in order to grow their firm. Maybe they started just doing tax returns, and now they're doing some recurring services. Well, now they're starting to do strategic planning, and they have this huge book of business of active clients, and they'd like to, instead of having to find cold call or find new people that way, they want to go back into their existing book of business and re-engage. Have a conversation. Maybe it's a quarterly conversation where one of the partners that that has this particular client, gives them a call, sees how things are going. Hey, I noticed that you like, that they like the Cubs. And so you're able to talk about the Cubs game that was just on, or you can talk about their kids, things like that. That's what this is really meant to also work for you for. And so you can, depending on when you last engaged with them, automate when to next engage. This can notify you as the partner or notify the partner that, hey, it's time to engage with this particular client again. And then you can utilize Monday to keep track of these particular things about the client. So if I go into my updates, I can make a note, their daughter just had a girl. And that way, when I call them in 3 months, I can see, okay, 3 months ago, they had a grandchild, so I can mention that to them. So it's a way of keeping track of your existing and your new clients, so you can keep track of all that information and really grow your business as your firm starts to grow. All right, any questions about this client management space, what you see happening as I walk through this? And maybe your questions have to do with the hot item, I'm sure, on all your minds, which is this workflow space. But if any of you have questions on this client management, go ahead and throw those into the Q&A or the chat. Any questions?
I am not seeing any right now, but I think something that's probably also on people's minds is, what if we have multiple points of contact? So what if we have one person who was talked about in the overall new account, and then we move them to active, and maybe they switch, or maybe we have another person?
Yes, perfect. That oftentimes happens. You may have, for example, let's take this client that we just added here, Serious Star Construction. Let's say Ella is in charge of finance, but you also have somebody else. We'll say Nick Valentine is also in charge at that particular company, but he is maybe a partner. And so there's two ways to do this. One is to automate it. But the easiest way right now to talk about it is that this little entity right here and is called an item card in Monday. I can click on that and I can easily search for the account, which is Serious Star Construction. And I can link it. And then again, since I linked it here, it's going to link. I'll go ahead and search for Serious Star Construction. And you can see that I've got both of my contacts that automatically linked. I can mirror over information. So right now you can see I'm mirroring both of their emails. So that if I wanted to email both of them using an email integration, I could do that without ever having to go into my email. So that's the way, one of the easiest ways to connect multiple contacts to an account. Like I said, that can be automated as well, but right now I'll just show you, I just showed you the manual way to do that. Awesome. If there's no more questions, let's hop into the workflows. So I think before I get going, we had set the services for our friend Delighted Coffee. So I'm going to go ahead and work through the services with that particular company. So they wanted 1120 audit and bookkeeping. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate first to my 1120 board, where I'll see my Delighted Coffee. They showed up there. You can see it automatically linked. I even had this set up because at our firm, we had the same preparer every time for 1120 and the same reviewer. So I was able to actually automate that. So I didn't even have to assign it. So it comes in here, it automatically assigns upon creation. It automatically connects this to the client. And you can see that we're using what Monday calls the status column to denote the different steps of the return. And this is one way that you can use Monday and organize it. And then within the solution, we have a variety of already built out automations that will, for example, notify. So you can see here when the preparer is assigned, which happens automatically, they're notified. So I should see a little notification there. And there it is. Delighted Coffee is ready for prep. So I'm notified automatically. The other things that we have going on here is that when, for example, an item changes to approved or to assembled, it's going to notify the next person in line. So you're always keeping that task moving. You're never in question, what do I need to do? Where is it bottlenecking? What's my task? When should I do it? It's always moving because this is attached to a notification built in. So as you can see, it moved down to assembled, and it's going to notify my reviewer colleague, Daniel. And once he's taken a look at that, he will approve it, and that's going to notify me. And in just a moment, you'll see this little bell change to 1. I can even get an email that lets me know that it's been approved, and I can go ahead and submit it for the client's approval. A few other things that show up in here, you can see we have the ability to time track, so that you know how perhaps you want to know how long a particular return has taken from start to finish. So you can get that idea for reporting, like, hey, great job this year, staff. We had an average turnover time from start to finish of getting our returns done in 14 days. And it'll show you that. Or, ooh, this is an area that the staff person needs to work on, or maybe the team isn't caring about this as much. This particular return took 7 months, and actually on average, they've taken about 5 months or something like that. So we can use the time tracking to get that piece of information. We can also set due dates. You'll see that once it's been sent, it automatically collects the date. Same thing for when it gets filed. It gets automatically set there. And the last thing to note about this, without going into too much detail, is that this can also be set up to automatically email the client. So really what we're wanting to do is get you out of your email back and forth, having to search through your email threads to find things, and be able to email in context. So with Monday, you can email, for example, a particular form, maybe the 8879 for the 1040 is ready to be signed. You can actually email that directly from Monday using Monday's email integrations, and be able to send that to the client so that they have it automatically without even having to compose the email. You can set up a template, and then when this changes to sent to client, it automatically could send that out. And not only that, it can also show a log of those emails. So you can see, when was this email sent? When was it opened? You can see a response activity of that. So again, it's all about capturing those emails in context and saving some time on your end. So you have time, you and your staff have time to do more important things than check your email and search your email and be transferring things from one place to another. You can use a link for client documents or for files, but you can also link straight from your SharePoint, your OneDrive, or if you use another document management system, you can link from there as well. That same system is how it works for 1040 as well. So it's the exact same system. It's just obviously a different form. You may have some uniquenesses to the ways that you do 1040 or 1120. If, for example, maybe this is great. Oh, I love that this is kind of a large overview of the return tasks, but what about, the Schedule Ks that we have to make sure that we get, or particular pieces of documents that you want to make sure that the client has submitted? You can use what Monday calls sub items to capture those open items or open documents. So this can be automated or it can be done manually. You can put in those particular pieces, assign an owner, a status, a due date, or simply actually build out even different columns that might help you. But in most cases, this is going to be how you would use your sub items as sort of a sub checklist to your to that particular return or that particular workflow. Now that's just for forms. And that's a one-time thing typically. What we also have in here are recurring workflows. And the way that we have, there are a number of ways that Monday can do recurring workflows. And we found that in working with firms, this is the best way. However, like I said, there are a number of ways. This is a system that recycles itself. So depending on the particular frequency, it allows your accountant or your staff person to keep track and work on that particular recurring task. And when they're done, it recycles the date. So if it's weekly, it would recycle it to the next week. If it's quarterly, to the next quarter, so on and so forth. Even if you have a specific like end of month, it's going to recycle it to that particular, whatever that end of month day is. And at the same time, give you an audit trail. Because if you recycle it over and over again, you'll never be able to know if it actually got done because everything just clears itself. So I'm going to show you how that works. So we'll take our friend here, Delighted Coffee. We'll just say that for this weekly, it's actually due today. And I'm going to start this. It's very last minute. And while that is functioning, I'm going to look down here at my one that I've already had started. So Gray Fox Corp. I gathered the paperwork and processed it all at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and click processed. And this is going to update here to done. And then you're going to see this recycle the date and clear everything. Today, like I said, my computer's having a bit of a Thursday, so it might take a little bit of time to catch up. But what will happen is that once it catches up, it will create an item here on our audit log. And so these are our completed recurring tasks for bookkeeping, as well as reconciliation. You may have other recurring tasks that you can put in here easily. And it logs the client, it logs the accountant who did it, the occurrence, the date it was due, and the date it was completed, and then it links it so that you're able to see that particular client if need be. So this is your audit trail. And then for our bookkeeping itself, there it went. You can see it, processed it to done. And in a moment, you're going to see this all recycle and clear and move itself back up to upcoming. A few other things to note about these particular boards is there's an ability to mark something as stuck, or if something is late, it can be moved down to stuck as well, which can be very helpful for you to know that there's a bottleneck, there's a problem, and something maybe that you need to step into as the partner and help that your accountant figure out. That particular information I'm going to show you in a little bit easier of a view. So we'll get back to that in a moment, but I want to stay on this bookkeeping board for just a second. If you look to the right here, you're able to see again, we have that email linked. So you could email the client directly from this board, either manually through Monday or an email integration through Monday as well. So if you wanted to keep your client, like for example, when you're requesting receipts, you could automatically have that email the client. Please send in your receipts for your bookkeeping for the month, so that someone's not having to take that time to compose that email every single week or month or whatever the frequency is there. The other thing that you can see over here is a link to documents. So you can also have your clients submit their documents via a Monday form, and it will automatically link it to these any of these workflows and notify the accountant. So again, you're reducing that time of having to wait for the client to submit a document or having to chase them, because it's all captured in Monday. It's all in context and it's all right here. So if I click on it, you're going to see it's connected to that incoming document. There it is right there. I can grab it. I can move it onto our SharePoint, or I can keep it on Monday if that's the best way to move forward. That's the recurring workflow. And as you can see, our right here, I think this is the one I moved. It has recycled itself and started back over again. So that's how this recurring workflow works. It's the same thing for reconciliation, exact same process. It just depends on the frequency. And again, these can be customized. Maybe you have a trimester frequency that you want to throw in there, or a semester frequency. All of that can be customized to your firm's needs very easily. If you have other recurring processes, these can be duplicated very easily. So it's all meant, again, to be kind of out of the box for you. I'm going to jump into these dashboards quick. I know this is a lot to take in, so please throw your questions in the Q&A if you have them. Otherwise, I'm going to jump forward into these dashboards. This is really one of the things that a lot of firms lack, especially in their practice management software, is the ability to see across your entire portfolio or your entire staff, what's really going on. And so the dashboard is set up to give you that. We're looking at our client management. This is across our whole firm. You could do it across all of your returns, all of your bookkeeping. It can be kind of customized in this way, but it's right now just showing all of your portfolio. So you can see that I have certain delineations of what's gone on. I can also see tax return progress, and I can click into any of these and see what's going on. So I have these 4 that are listed. I can see who these particular people are and who is in charge of them. Same thing here as well. So if I want to know what's stuck, I can click right in there, and I can see, just without having to go to multiple boards or even to have these people reach out to me, I can go in here on a daily basis and see who's stuck, and then help this particular accountant to unstick this client. Also, late tasks, which is really a huge piece if you're not in the office or you're a hybrid team, fully remote. It's very important to be able to see across all of your clients who is late on doing their tasks. So this is filtering out across your whole Monday account, who is late, what is the client, who's the person responsible, how many days late are they, what's the status of the project, so that you're not having to, again, fish for this information or just guess or keep yourself up at night. It's all right here. It's ready to go. It's been filtered. Same thing here with our client deadlines. We're able to see across all of our different types of services what our deadlines are for the clients. What's so awesome about Monday is that in seconds, you can change this. Maybe hey, this is great, I like it, but I really want to see this information not grouped by services, but I actually want to see who's got some deadlines coming up. So I'm going to group it by people. And now I can see, without doing anything, by my staff, who's got deadlines coming up. Wow, okay, my staff person, Rachel, is super behind on this one. So I can see that just, again, at a glance. I can click into that and see that information. I can even write to Rachel here. Hey, Rachel, what's the status here? This is a couple weeks late and it's a really important client. And of course, if I'm in the office, I could go talk to her as well. But this is a really quick way to see that information. And I really can group this by anything. I had it grouped by boards. And I'm going to show you now a similar thing in our staff management. This is another big complaint that we have from firms, is that they have no way of knowing what their staff is working on, how much has been assigned to them, and especially during busy season, what can be assigned to them. So if you have no idea what your staff has on their plate, you might over assign one person and you may under assign another person. And so the one person who's under assigned is twiddling their thumbs or doing other things. The person who's over assigned is losing their mind and not getting their work done. So it's again, a quick glance so you can see that information. And when it's not busy season and you have projects you want people to work on, it's a great way to make sure that you're utilizing them in the full-time capacity that you have them. This is also super helpful, of course, during busy season if you have contractors, to make sure that you've assigned them the right number of hours so that they are actually working for how much you contracted them for. So you'll recognize this capacity calendar. Looks the same as what I just showed you. It shows what those deadlines are for each of my employees and the status of those particular things. I can also see across my staff how many tasks have been assigned to them. So I can see, okay, Garrett and Monica have less on their plate than any of my other staff people. So I'm going to go ahead and give them some more. Maybe I'll give some of Tanya or Julie's work to them. And the other way that you can check capacity in Monday is through what's called a Workload Widget. And the Workload Widget is really helpful because it's by time. So it takes the due dates and it captures how many things have been assigned to that particular staff person. And you can set limits to that. So let's say during busy season, you don't want anyone to have more than 40 clients that they're working with because that's way too many. So when someone has more than 40 clients, it's going to show up as red. You can easily allocate that work to someone else, or maybe it's by hours. You don't want anyone obviously to be working more than, during not busy season, 40 hours, and maybe during busy season, 60. And so you can set those here. So you make sure that they're not working more than that, and you can reallocate. If I click in here, you can see this, and I can easily reallocate this to another preparer that has less on their plate. And again, we have our handy late tasks. Always good to know when something's late and why, and if there's anything you can do to support your staff to get it through the pipeline. That's our workflow section, our heavy section there. Does anyone have questions about workflows before we move on to how we can use Monday for client interaction? Now, that was a lot of information. There's a lot of things going on in all of these workflows, a lot of automations. Any questions about capabilities of Monday? Can it do this? Is there a way to change this? Those are the types of questions we'd love to hear if you have them.
I think a good question that I hear sometimes is with the history audit, like how do we export that if we want that as a report that we want individualized for a client?
Great question. And that's a great question too, because, as much as Monday does a better job in a lot of ways than Excel, we still sometimes have to export to Excel for reporting. And so Monday knows that, and we can export any board to Excel and get a quick report of that. So that's one way we can export that information. We can also use this information in a dashboard with at the end of the year, maybe to see how many, for example, we might want to see how many weekly bookkeeping tasks we did, how many we completed on time, how many we completed late. These are all reporting metrics that can be done straight in Monday with the information that we have here. Otherwise, we can export that board to Excel and get that audit trail, because maybe at the end of the year, we're going to delete what's been done, but we still want to have that living somewhere on our SharePoint or on our local computer. Awesome. Okay, let's move on to client interaction. This is a huge piece of how you can use Monday, and there are a variety of ways to do it. It just depends on your firm and how you want to work. And we have those ways delineated here in this particular folder. So to start, some of you may have a firm where let's say you have 300 clients, but you have 5 clients that are super high touch. And you want to make sure they have the best service and they have every single one of your services. And so making a separate board for them in Monday makes sense. You wouldn't want to do that for all 300 of your clients. That's what the workflows are for, those workflow boards. But let's say you have those 5 high touch clients that you want to give special attention to. You could use this board, and every single month you have different tasks that you need to do for them. And you'll see this looks very familiar to what you've seen before. Prepare reviewer, we've got a due date. We've got our status column, time tracking. We can put in documents in here. We also have the ability to create dependencies so that if this is the same every month, Once one task is done, it can change the next task to ready to work and notify that person who's next in line. So it can be like a standard list, a waterfall of tasks, or maybe it's unique every single month. Either way, you're able to delineate that by month. You can also, if you want in this client template, actually invite your client to this particular board. So maybe there are some of these tasks that the client needs to do. We could create another column for our client. Could be a team of people, could be an individual. You can invite them to Monday as a guest. They're a free user. And then they're able to get in here. They can be notified via automations or emailed when things are ready to be done or when you need them to do things. And you can even set it so that when they log in here, all they see are the tasks that have been assigned to them. They don't see anything else. And that's, of course, for two main reasons. One, you don't want them to see other information because they maybe shouldn't, or you don't want them to change that. And also it's a courtesy. No one likes to come into a system where they don't know 95% of what the information is. They want to just see, they're busy people that want to just see what you need from them. So Monday allows you to do that by inviting them to the system as a guest. They only see what you want them to see. Now, it may be also that you don't have those high touch clients, or maybe you have 300 clients and they're all high touch. You wouldn't want to create, most likely, you could, but you may not want to create a board for every client. It's possible in Monday, but it may not be the best practice for the system. So in that case, you might want to have a board where you can request documents from a client and again, assign them to it. They can come into this board when they're notified when something is needed, and they can upload this documentation at the click of a button. And they won't see you could have all 300 of your clients on this board, and they will only see the documents that have been assigned to them. So they won't see if you have another client that you're working with, they won't even see that information at all. And you can even customize the view, which we have here, our client view, so that again, it's only showing them what they need to see and what they can actually interact with. So we're going to upload our document here. We can certify it if we want to. We can send it or save the draft. And this is tied to automations that keep things moving. So again, if I was ready to send this document for the tax certificate when I came in here, in a moment, it's going to change this to document sent, and it's going to notify the accountant who's working on that particular tax certificate for that particular client. That's one way that you can invite your clients in to send and look at particular documentation. The other thing to note about this is that you can also create a dashboard for a client. This is easier than creating 300 boards maybe, because it's just capturing information across the whole account that has to do with that client. And again, because they're only seeing what you've assigned them to, they're not going to see anyone else's information. This, in effect, it becomes kind of like a client portal. And I have this set up for this particular client, J&B Construction Company, LLC. And they can, at any point in time, come in here. It's going to keep things constantly updated depending on what you're doing with them. So you would want to make sure you're updating their particular tasks. Also, as you can see, it's showing when things are stuck. So what you want the client to see is an important thing, obviously, to consider. But Monday allows you to filter that information down. So let's say you didn't want them to see things that are stuck. You could filter that out. Or maybe you do, because that means, hey, you need some information from them. So can they please address this particular ad hoc task that they've asked you to do? They can come in here and help you with that, with, again, limiting that email back and forth and waiting for the client. You can also have them upload their documents here. So again, I'm able to see the incoming documents that are needed from me, my June financials, and I can send them in this space right here. I can also upload them directly from a form that's linked here. And this will allow the document that I've submitted to go onto the Monday system. So it's a little bit easier, maybe a little bit more intuitive for your clients who are more used to forms and less used to something that looks like this, to get that document to them. And then you can also leave conversations with the firm here. The reason why I like something like this is because, again, it is keeping things in context. As opposed to email that can get very convoluted and you can lose things, especially if you're working with 50 different clients throughout busy season. It's just so hard to keep track of things. Let's get off of email. Let's start communicating within this portal. We can write messages to one another. We can reply, ask questions, and not ever have to go to our email. So that way there's like that audit trail of the communication that's been set up. And that's the general idea behind the individual client dashboard that, again, can be duplicated for all of your clients if you did want to have them in Monday interacting in the way that you've set up for them to interact with the system. We do recommend that because it's, again, putting everything in context. So you're not having to fish through emails or phone calls and things like that. Any questions about the client interaction space, the client template? We have our client document requests, and this document uploads is just a different way to get at that same information using a form. This would be particularly if you did not have your clients invited to the system and you just wanted to send them this form when you needed a document from them. They don't need to be users in Monday to submit a document through this form, because this is simply a URL that you can send to them. And when they open it, it will just be the form that they can fill out, submit, and it populates your board without them having to use Monday. But it does require more manual work to not have them in the system, which is why we recommend that you put them in. Any questions about client interaction?
I do not see any at the moment.
Awesome. A quiet group. Hopefully you're all munching on your lunches right now. Well, to wrap up, this CPA solution is available to you. However, we do want to meet with you first. So if you are interested in this particular solution and trying it out, seeing how you can customize it for your firm, the way to do that is to go to this landing page here that we have for you, Monday First accountants and CPAs, to get a demo. This will send you to us so that we can meet you and we can find out what your specific firm's needs are, because every firm has different needs. We can determine whether Monday is the right fit with you. We can determine whether the solution is the right fit for you, and just make sure that you're getting the best software this year for your next busy season, for your team and your firm as it grows. This is the next step so that we can take your firm to the next level with you.
I have a really quick question that came in. I have someone who's asking, your recommendation was not to have a board per client specific to scenarios in which we want the client to collaborate in the system, or more general. So the use case of the template one.
So I think I'll go through what I think the question is, and then please let me know if I didn't answer it. There's nothing wrong with having a board per client in Monday. There's a few reasons not to. If you have more than 50 or 60 clients, it's a lot to manage. Let's say again, like you have 300 clients. That's a lot. Now you could still do that. You can have as many boards as you want on Monday. There's no limitation. So if you wanted to have 300 boards, a board per client, and have it be customized and invite those clients to those boards to interact, there's nothing wrong with that. Where it becomes an issue, it's depending on how you want to see that information captured in a dashboard. So Monday does have a limitation. You can only link 60 boards to a dashboard. So if you had 300 for clients, that you would have to have multiple dashboards, which is maybe okay. There are workarounds to get around that. And we know those workarounds. We have and can work with you if a board per client is the right move for you, especially if you're inviting clients to each of these boards. But we would want to make sure that that was the right way. The other thing that's just challenging about that way of doing things is it can be a lot of management and maintenance. If you think about having to go to 300 separate boards, as opposed to maybe 6 or 7 workflow boards to update information. Just kind of depends on your portfolio, it depends on your staff, and it depends on what makes the most sense to you, because ultimately you want you and your staff to use the system and your clients to be happy. And if that means a board per client, then we will help you to set it up so that a board per client makes the most sense and works the best for you. Did that answer the question?
Yes, I think that it looks like that answered it perfectly good.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. And one we get that question all of the time. And Monday, with the great thing about Monday and the great thing about the solution is that you can customize it fairly easily to what works best for you. And where we come in and where we're very helpful is we know all of the different things Monday can do, the best practices. And so we can help to consult you on the best way to set your system up so you don't run into a frustrating problem that you didn't know existed. So that's one thing that we love doing with CPA and accounting firms. We work with a lot of other companies as well, but that's what this solution is set up for. Any other questions before we head out for the day?
I think we are wrapped up.
That's great. This is a lot to cover. We will send you the video after it's done, so you can have that to reference for yourself. And even if you're not sure the next step, how to move forward, I really recommend that you navigate to this. I threw this in the chat earlier, and contact us for a little bit more conversation, because we can talk you through, we can answer your specific questions that maybe you haven't thought of yet, or maybe you didn't want to ask today, and take it from there. So thank you 100 times over for attending today, and for your interest in Monday. We hope that this is a great solution for you. We want this to be the best busy season you've had yet, and for you to build your team and retain them this year through this amazing platform that exists to really help you grow your business and get on the same page with your clients, with your staff, and ultimately have a little bit of fun while you do it. So thank you again. I'm Julie from Lucid Day, and thank you, Jalen, for helping. We hope you have a great rest of your week and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.